Welcome to the Marketing Drip, where we drip tips to scale your business digitally. Abby here, and today's episode is part of our Fortune Management series. We're talking with coaches all over the US to give guidance for all dentists wanting to go to that next level. In this episode, I talked with Brian Houlahan, an executive coach at Fortune Management. Brian first entered the dental field in 2006 after founding a financial technology company and has worked with over 600 practices nationwide, helping to increase profitability and really grow the annualized collections in excess of $180 million. As a managing partner at Fortune Management, Brian specializes in helping doctors define their unique vision for their ideal practice, then supporting them in order to achieve it. His energy and passion, you guys will see in this episode, it brings knowledge far beyond financials, but his ability to strongly communicate to patients and the team to ultimately provide strong management and clinical skills to the business owners to help grow the practices. So let's not wait any longer and let's begin today's drip, provided by Digital Resource, a full-service digital marketing agency that is your resource for everything digital. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for joining us today and dripping some knowledge. And I really appreciate you taking time out of today just to talk with us.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to be here.
Yay. Well, for those that don't really know a lot about Fortune Management, really just break down what Fortune Management brings to different healthcare practices all over the US.
Yeah, so we've been a practice management company for over 30 years now. We were initially founded by a number of practicing dentists and Tony Robbins. And we tried to marry together what consulting had that was valuable with why knowing what to do didn't always get the result that people wanted right now. And that's kind of where the executive coaching part comes in, is not only having the strategies to do it, getting people to actually make the changes in behavior that is needed to get the results that they want.
Yeah. And I love that you guys are able to bring that element because there really is the lack of the business knowledge, right? It's not really, you want to be a clinician, they want to go in and they want to expand their practice, but that comes with that business aspect. So being able to cater to those needs, I feel like that's why Digital Resource and Fortune Management has worked together. I mean, since the start of our company, we've been partners with you guys and really working and collaborating on different practices to bring in that business element and bring in that knowledge so they can feel more confident to really have a better practice, a better business when it comes to these entrepreneurs that they don't see themselves as.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's what you know you don't know, and then there's what you don't know you don't know. So a lot of times, a lot of doctors I find actually know what it is that they need to do to grow their practice, but there are several barriers that they have psychologically that sometimes prevent them from doing it. One of the factors that I see a lot, and I've been in over 2,000 practices, and what we see is almost like a lifestyle, a life arc like you have as a person. You have when you're a baby and you're growing and you're an adolescent, and then you kind of hit a plateau as you get older where you stop growing. Maybe you grow this way or maybe that way a little bit, but not up. And then as you start to age, you start to decline right now. And one of the things that I find kind of prevents practices from doing, number one, is comfort. So a lot of practices, practice owners, when they first get started, they're, always looking at their new patient count, they're growing and they're seeing their numbers go up and up and up. And there comes to a point where you're pretty comfortable. You have a very comfortable earning. The income that they have covers their lifestyle as it is. And any additional growth at that point equates in their mind to them having to work harder with their own two hands. And I think that's one of the places that really prevents a lot of doctors from taking it to the next level is the thought that if I'm going to grow, it means me having to do twice as much work. And that's one of the things that we work a lot of times with doctors with is helping them understand that, Steve Jobs didn't grow Apple by sitting there coding 10 times more. He did that by growing other people within them. And that's really what we'd be looking to do is helping doctors get to that next level by building a better team around them, bringing in other clinicians to help share that load of expansion and everything else that goes along with it.
And that's what you guys are amazing at, right? Is building that culture and really identifying what the barriers are, I guess, to really make sure that practice is thriving. Do you think it does? Because I think of like what's overlooked in practices, right? Like what typically isn't there. You talked about mindset. And maybe it's the team and the capacity, but is there anything that you constantly see that is overlooked in order for practices to grow to their full potential?
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. I think the obvious answer of what's overlooked is probably the numbers.
Okay.
And when I say the numbers, I mean that holistically, because almost every practice owner looks at the big three. Number one, they look at new patient count, digital resource. That's where you guys come in. The other two ones that everybody looks at, number one is when bills have to get paid, we look at collections. How much actual revenue is in my bank account, and then how much production do I have along the way? And that's usually kind of the forward part to get to the end there. And the challenge with those numbers is that these are largely lag measures. And what I mean by lag measures is by the time you're measuring how many new patients you had last month, the month's already happened. So we can't go back and change something to affect that outcome. And by the time we're looking at what our collection was at the end of the month, it's already happened. We can't go back and change those types of things. So I think when I say what's overlooked a lot of times is the numbers that are the lead measures that drive those lag measures. So if we're looking at, for example, for new patients, for example, if you end your month and you add 15 new patients, for some practices, that's a good number. For some practices, that's a terrible number. If that's a bad number for you, the natural inclination is, hey, I need more patients next month. But if we actually look back at the lead measures, if you had 45 potential new patients that called the practice and the team is only able to schedule 15 of them, did you really need more new patients, or did we need to do better with the calls that we had coming in? So kind of getting underneath the hood of the real numbers that drive the ultimate numbers that everybody looks at, which are net production, collection, new patients.
I love that you said that, because that's always what we talk about when it comes to like an internal marketing perspective, right? It's not just about new, but that's what's constantly heard, right? We've been to these conferences together, we've been to these shows, and that's all that's being discussed is exactly new patients, production, and collections. But it's retroactive. Like how can we make sure to plan for the next? And I know typically I'm always thinking about like unscheduled active patients or proposed treatment, your acceptance rate. But to your very point too, it's the visits on your schedule, the opportunities. You look at like July and they're like, oh, I'm not doing as well. It's like, well, doc, you went on a vacation for 2 weeks. Like you didn't get any treatment in, so is there other numbers that you always recommend to really look at that to make sure that they're being proactive or making sure they can hit those goals?
Yeah, what could sometimes overwhelming from listening to a consultant standpoint is there's so many things that you could measure that if someone who doesn't know your practice and isn't intimately knowledgeable with what's going on between your walls, you can watch a webinar like this and you can come away with like 45 different things that you need to track right now. And you end up tracking none of them, and it just gets very overwhelming to be able to do. So one of the things I think that we add a lot of value to practices is really understanding specifically what's going on within this practice or your practice if you're the practice owner, and then saying, here's all the things that are going great. Here's the things that really would make the difference to get you where you want to go. And here's those four ones that we really just need to focus on over the next 3 to 4 months to make that dramatic shift right now. So I think it's very arbitrary to just say, hey, you just need to look at these 3 things, because there's so many different ones that you can get into. It's really helping a practice understand where they want to go, where the shortfalls are, and then what is the numbers behind the numbers that we have to get into that drive that action.
Makes total sense. It has to be customized. Like you can't just say, I feel that a lot in marketing. They'll be like, I need social media. We're like, well, why? What are your goals here? What are we trying to achieve? Like, do you want new? Do you want to? So I love that. You can't look at and reflect on the numbers because every practice is trying to have their own set of goals, their own achievements to have. So that's where coming in and having a consultant is really going to be crucial to understand it and to be able to see that growth. I guess that kind of leads into too, we're talking about things that are being overlooked, but are there barriers that you see that practices face that really hold them back from growing?
Yeah, the biggest barriers that I see, I think I touched base on this before already. Number one is comfort. So practice that's already overcome the hardest hurdles to get to a place where, my lifestyle is what it is and we're comfortable right now. And comfort sometimes lulls people into a false sense of security. Because even though you might be comfortable today, your team members might not be comfortable with their current income. And then they start coming to you, doc, I need a raise, and I need a raise. And if we're not growing the practice, that starts to ultimately drive into the profitability of the practice. When your supply companies turn around and raise the prices on you, and your landlord raises the fees on you. The whole world's going to continue to raise fees on you right now. So lulling yourself to sleep from a place of comfort, I think, is a trap that a lot of people fall into. The other bigger one, I think, though, is fear. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of taking risks. I think that's probably one of the bigger things that most people can find themselves into. It's very easy to get into analysis paralysis by hearing about something at a conference or on a podcast or something like this. You start Googling it, and next thing you know, you've researched it for months and you never took any action on it either. That's probably the two bigger things I think that hold most people back.
Yeah. I think that's always what's great too about having people. I always say you need your panel, your board, you need your board of experts in a sense to be able to go to for different things. So doing research and making sure that you understand what opportunities are out there, educate yourself to advance yourself, but also having people that are in your corner that can help you make those decisions or really be there for you, making sure that you're not alone in this. And that's always a comment. So that I love that you say that. There's one thing to look it up and look into it. It's another thing to be accountable for it and actually act on it. And the only way you can really be successful sometimes is actually having your peers that are going to hold you accountable and that are going to give you the best advice too, because it's constantly evolving. But I love that. Yeah. Now, there are a lot of tips and things that they could read or watch or listen to webinars like this or, what have you. Is there something that you find, because I don't know, a lot of times docs are always telling me like, what's the quickest? And there's no like silver bullet, right? Like there's got to be multiple things that happen, but is there something that they could instill today that could help them impact their practice or really see a difference in growth?
Yeah. So I guess a couple of things that I would think about that come to mind when you ask a question like that is, although everything's a little bit different, there are things that are fundamental to business, and it's not just to the dental business, it's fundamental to any business right now. So one of the first things you'd want to look at is, what is your active patient count? So it's not necessarily new patients, because there's really 4 metrics that go into an active patient count. You have new patients, obviously that's the one that everyone looks at. But we also have patients who we haven't seen in our practice in 2 years or 18 months or something else that are still in our books. And if you saw them at the grocery store, oh, that's my dentist over there. But they don't go to the dentist because they don't have any issues that they think, at least that's what they think in their head.
No pain. Yeah.
So how do we, number one, get new blood in the door? But number two, how do we get some of our older patients who are not coming into our practice with any frequency back into the door? And then how do we combine that with attrition? So that's the other thing. If you have 40 new patients a month, that might be a great number for some practices. But if you have 39 patients go inactive in that same time period, what did we accomplish? Ultimately, we didn't really grow the practice. We're treading water. We're filling a leaky bucket. So number one, how many patients are being marked inactive? And a lot of times those are things that are out of our control. If they move, if they, things like that, and we have to mark them inactive. But how many patients go inactive because we just haven't seen them after a period of time? So those are the 2 ways that practices can lose a patient from a business planning standpoint. Is number one, we haven't seen them in 2 years. And number two, they were, bye-bye, I'm leaving and I'm marked inactive within the software.
That's the best way. It's like they put all this money in, or even time and effort and energy into getting new patients. But what happened to them? Did they go out the back door? Did they pass away? Did they move away? Making sure there's some kind of plan, whether that's with a communication software such as NextHealth, RevenueWell, Addit, Solution Reach, Lighthouse, you name it. Sure. Whatever. If there's some kind of system that you have, make sure those are turned on. Sure. We typically go on those systems and find less than 10% of the software is even being utilized. And that's because, those can be conversations that the front really doesn't want to deal with because it's friction, right? So making sure those are turned on and making it easier on your team. But to your very point, reactivating those patients, that's low-hanging fruit. Take advantage of that. Look up the reports. Look up how many patients. When was the last time they were seen? And a lot of times you'll also see the proposed treatment that's just sitting there too. Like, why didn't they accept? Did they go somewhere else? Is there lack of education? Do they not have an easy way to book an appointment, whether that's through the phone or an online scheduling system? Yeah. So making it easy for them to act is also very crucial as part of your plan too. But I agree. Reactivation is always something that is a huge opportunity people can do like today, like right now.
Yeah, definitely. So from a a consulting marketing standpoint, I'd say that's probably one of the number one things that you can look at and say, hey, this month, did my active patient count go up or down? And look at it more holistically than just how many new patients came through the door right now, because that's really what's going to move the needle on the practice. And if not going in where you want it to go, which part of that 4 is where we're losing it from? Are we not reactivating enough? We had a bunch of new patients, but we really didn't reactivate any old patients. Did we suddenly have a whole bunch of patients get marked inactive? Did we change the way that we're doing something within the practice? Did somebody else leave the practice that we're not doing a good job of transitioning those patients to? And then lastly, are we maintaining the patients that we are seeing this month? Are they being reappointed for their next appointment? Are they having automation follow-ups and things like that, like you mentioned before? Are all those things taking place right now to make it as effective as possible for us to be growing that active patient base and not treading water, which I see all the time, unfortunately.
And do you think it's team alignment, like what, or it just depends on the practice?
Well, number one, I think that the team needs to understand that basic concept. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to go from X number of active patients to Y number of active patients. Here's how we get the new patients. Here's how we reactivate the old patients. And here's what we're up against: patients that are leaving and patients that are being marked inactive. And I don't think that education is always brought to a lot of team members. And I think a lot of team members don't really understand the way that entire process works and where we can start closing doors or being more effective.
You can't assume, and you can't assume that your team is assuming to assume.
Well, if you assume, you end up becoming the first 3 letters of that word. So.
That's right. Out of you and me, right? Yeah. Well, tell me, I always like to know, this is my favorite question, out of the success story, what's like your favorite? I know you've had a lot, but what is your favorite success story that really stands out that coaching has led to practice growth?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I have a number of ones, obviously, that come to mind when I think about it. But I think one of my favorite one is maybe not yet to be completed yet. And I say that because almost all my other success stories was a practice that was either plateaued or young or was in a certain phase, and we worked with them and they got to where they want to go. And that was largely playing on a fair, life's not fair, business is not fair, but playing on a fair playing field right now. Over COVID, there's been a lot of things that really weren't fair, with forced shutdowns, with mass exodus of people that were moving out of areas, people who used to commute into cities and work and then go see their dentists who are now working digitally or virtually like we are right now. So there's a lot of things that go into that. And I think that's probably ultimately, we check back in a year from now, I'd like that to be my biggest success story, is overcoming probably the hardest situation you could be in with the hardest situation you could be in post-COVID, to being in a place where you're on the other side. I love that. And you're a success story.
So much has changed, right? So just adapting with all that. And
yeah. So I spoke with someone who was in upper management of a DSO in New York City that failed after COVID right now. And if something that's backed with, $20-30 million couldn't make it through that, if what does that mean for the little guy? What does that mean for the private practitioner facing the same trailwoods right now? So that's, I think it's a good testament to be able to survive something like that. So
I love it. That's always my favorite. Well, it's about to be a cool story too, because we've talked about a lot about how we've intertwined, right? When it comes to Fortune Management, when it comes to digital resource, different things we've done. Brian, I've met you last year, and it's been pretty cool to see all this stuff that we've all done together. I know you've known Shay a lot longer as well, but really making sure that when it comes to partnerships and when it comes to our relationship, doing what we've done is events and collaborations, and just making sure that that we're aligned, right? And that we can provide all of our clients with all the different assets and resources that they need to be successful, so they can focus on being a clinician. I think that's what it really comes down to, right? Everybody needs to be able to focus on their own expertise in order to excel and thrive. That's what makes us all a team, right? So that being said, we've got some exciting news to go above and beyond for South Florida, Palm Beach County area. Woo, for all the dentists out there. Do you want to break the news here? Should we do it? Should we say?
Yeah. Yeah. So Shay and I were having a discussion right now, and there was an opportunity that presented itself to basically form a true partnership in the Palm Beach area right now, where Digital Resource and Fortune Management are forming our own outpost, I guess, for our own area. And that's going to be working locally directly with a lot of Digital Resource clients and beyond to better service that market right now. So it's not just about, hey, we got you all these new patients right now. It's how do we go beyond that right now? Because at the end of the day, I think Digital Resource and Fortune Management's goal is the same, and that is to support the growth of practices. And to ultimately support that growth, whether that means growing bigger, whether that means growing more efficient, whether that could growth can mean a lot of different things right now. But to be able to really use our powers together to support practices above and beyond what we could do separately. And we're really excited to get started and really overserve the South Florida marketplace.
More to come. I'm so excited. Yes. Well, Brian, thank you so much for talking with me today, and thank everybody for tuning in. If you guys want to learn more about unlocking your full potential and have Brian and the team take care of you, go ahead and reach out with the information that's on the screen, and we will look forward to talking with you soon. But thanks again, Brian. Yay!
Thank you, Abby.